Bro Ed the Red coming to you once again this evening from Louisville, Kentucky with American Stealth and the news that you can use. I'm going to go into a historical account of the 1918-1919 swine flu pandemic that swept the world, killing at least, and this is a conservative estimate, 50 million people worldwide. Conservatively, the numbers in the United States are recorded as having been as high as 735,000 deaths in the United States alone. During the first round in 1918, it did have a profound effect, but not as profound as the second round that came in the fall. That one was far worse, and the death toll went to hell and back. The symptoms were so different after the mutation that the medical professionals were not even sure that what they were looking at was actually the flu. It behaved in many ways much like modern Ebola, with the victims hemorrhaging from the eyes, nose, and mouth so badly that blood would pool beside their bed, and nurses would simply walk into the blood and track the infected blood all over a medical facility. The disease often killed after about a 3-day incubation period. Once symptoms began, people died often in 12 to 24 hours. Some were believed to have incubated for only 24 hours, dying in only 12 hours after showing symptoms. Doctors told parents to stop feeding their children because they wouldn't survive after the end of the day. Orphaned children were simply told, "Get in line for your coffin." Mortuaries often hired armed guards to prevent coffin theft. The entire country was eventually shut down as everyone was either sick, dying, or dead. Orphaned children cried daily for their parents. A children's rhyme was created to help them cope with the mounting death and grief. I had a bird, her name was Enza. I opened my window, and in flew Enza. Americans were buried in mass graves as the morgues struggled to keep up with the mounting flood of dead. It was a common occurrence for large cities to see hundreds die per day, sometimes thousands. There are already eerie similarities in how our previous pandemic spread with our current. Much of the nation didn't believe it would be any worse than the seasonal flu. And what are we being told often? I find it odd that people asking to be tested for coronavirus can't get tested. Tests are not available to anyone who has not been in direct contact with someone who's either been out of the country and gone to a country where this virus has profoundly affected the population, or if they've come in contact with someone in the United States who was also infected. There is no reason for that. When this is an airborne virus and it's spreading throughout the country, whether people are having contact with someone who has it or not, they're still getting it because it's airborne. You don't have to have contact with somebody who's sick from this to get this. It is in the air. And Kentucky, unfortunately, has now its first confirmed case of coronavirus. People were in Family Dollar all throughout the day. Main item they were asking for was sanitizer. There has been a leak from the Pentagon, alleged. I'm not sure if it's accurate or not, but if it is, 75,000 troops worldwide are now showing symptoms of coronavirus. Other similarities between the previous pandemic of 1918 and 1919 and now. Large gatherings were often scheduled and held. At that point, World War I was in full swing, and much of this virus was being spread by infected soldiers who didn't know they had the illness. The estimated global death toll is estimated 50 million. New York City went on record having said that they stopped counting their dead after 33,000. That makes me wonder if they did stop counting their dead after a specified number, how many other cities did as well. How many people really died? Was it 50 million or was it more? Reservations were decimated, and India lost 11 million. American Samoa lost 80% of its population. Those are only two examples. Unfortunately, the microscopes used during the previous pandemic were not strong enough to see something as small as a virus. Being so, they weren't really even 100% sure if it was a virus. And a large part of the reason why it was so difficult for them to stop the spread was because they really didn't know for sure exactly what it was that they were dealing with. Troops bound for Europe and many other countries to fight in the war spread illness around the world while Americans spread it here. Many cities made spitting and shaking hands illegal. Exponential spread could mean millions infected, in about as little as a month. So far, 50% of cases are ending in death. Will we lose half our current population? We may. There's no way to really know for sure exactly how this is going to behave. We may not lose as many the first time around as we would potentially, in the fall. It's hard to say. We don't really know exactly how this is going to behave. It could behave very much like it did the last time, whether it's the same strain or not. It may not. We just don't know yet. But in lieu of history, we definitely need to take all the necessary precautions. In 1918 and 1919, people did run out of supplies. And when they did, trucks didn't come back in to replenish the supplies. The people were too afraid to come back in to an area that had been so hard hit by that flu. And it was a swine flu. It was recorded as having been a swine flu. We don't know if this is a new swine flu, an avian. Could be one that came from any number of animals. Could have come from a bat. We don't know. At any rate, get everything that you need on a daily basis in abundance, as much as you can now. Because if this gets as bad as it very well could, and the supplies are gone, there's a very good chance there will be none coming in. In the meantime, be at peace, be in prayer, be prepared, and don't stop praying. Bro Ed the Red, signing out.